Have you ever felt like no matter what you did in school, the teachers just had it out for you? You weren't the loudest kid in class. You didn't break the rules like some others. Yet somehow, their eyes were always on you. The punishments harsher, the praise almost non-existent. It wasn't random. It wasn't just about behavior. There was something deeper going on, something spiritual. Because here's the truth. You're a chosen one. Set apart in ways even you might not have fully understood back then. Whether they realized it or not, your teachers felt it. That rare light inside you that made them uneasy, even scared. If this message hits you right here, deep in your chest, like a truth you've been carrying for years, then this video is for you. This is your space to finally understand why you always felt different, why they never quite knew how to handle you. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything powerful coming your way. And if you're watching this exactly when you need it most, drop an 888 in the comments below for divine blessings and clarity. All right, let's get into the 8 reasons why teachers despised chosen ones like you more than anyone else. Because you scared them. Reason 1, your light exposed their shadows. You know, it wasn't about being loud or trying to steal the spotlight. It was something quieter, but far more powerful. When you walked into the room, there was a kind of calm intensity about you, a presence that didn't need to shout to be felt. And that presence? It reflected back something teachers often tried hard to forget. Behind their eyes were dreams they once held tightly, hopes that got crushed or pushed aside by the endless grind of the system. Maybe they wanted to change the world once, but somewhere along the way, those dreams faded. When they saw you, that bright spark, that refusal to settle, it was like looking into a mirror showing everything they had buried deep inside. You weren't trying to challenge them or prove anything. You were simply being real. And that scared them more than any loud disruption could. Because your light exposed their shadows, the parts of themselves they weren't ready to face. And when you reflect someone's pain or lost potential, it makes them uncomfortable, even afraid. You weren't the problem. You were the reminder. Reason 2, you couldn't be intimidated. Most kids learned pretty fast how to avoid trouble. A stern look, a sharp word, or a threat of detention was usually enough to make them back down and fall in line. But you weren't like that. Even when you were scared inside, you didn't let it show. You held your ground quietly, steady, never shrinking to fit their expectations. They tried to shame you, to push you around with rules and punishments. But it didn't work. Their power felt weaker against someone who refused to be controlled by fear. And that's when it got personal for them. It wasn't about discipline anymore. It was about the fact that you couldn't be bent or broken like the others. You carried something inside you that they had lost a long time ago. You embodied freedom, the kind of freedom they traded for safety, for acceptance, or just to survive. Seeing you hold on to that freedom, even in a place built to take it away, was unsettling. You reminded them of a part of themselves they had buried deep, and that scared them more than anything else. Reason 3, you asked the questions no one else would. You weren't satisfied with surface answers. While other students memorized facts and repeated what was expected, you raised your hand to ask the questions no one else dared to ask. It wasn't about showing off or trying to be difficult. It was because something inside you refused to accept half-truths. You wanted meaning. You wanted to understand why things were the way they were. Those questions caught teachers off guard. They weren't ready to face the cracks in the lessons they'd been delivering for years. Your curiosity wasn't just academic. It was deeper, almost spiritual. It challenged the stories they told themselves about how things should be, exposing blind spots they often ignored. That kind of honest inquiry made them uncomfortable. You weren't just asking about facts. You were asking about truth, about purpose, about authenticity. And in rooms where certainty and control were prized, your questions shook the foundation. It was intimidating, not because you were wrong, but because you forced them to confront truths they weren't prepared to face. Reason 4. You couldn't be boxed in. From the start, you didn't fit into the neat little boxes the school system wanted to put you in. They tried to label you, the quiet one, the troublemaker, the dreamer, the sensitive kid. But none of those fit quite right. You were more complicated, more real than any label could capture. And that made them uneasy. Systems like to organize things, to sort people quickly so they know how to manage them. But you didn't play by those rules. You refused to be defined by a role or stereotype. Your uniqueness couldn't be controlled or predicted, and that was a threat. Instead of welcoming your complexity with open minds, many teachers met it with resistance. It wasn't about them hating you, it was fear. Fear of what they didn't understand. When something or someone can't be categorized, it feels chaotic, like losing control. So instead of curiosity, they responded with confusion, frustration, and sometimes even rejection. But you kept being yourself anyway. That's what made you so powerful. Reason 5. You mirrored their lost potential. What most people don't realize is that many teachers weren't always the tired, worn-out people standing at the front of the classroom. Once they had dreams too. Big dreams filled with hope and fire, just like you. But life, the system, or their own struggles slowly chipped away at that spark until it faded. When they looked at you, it wasn't just a student they saw. They saw a reflection of the passion and potential they once had but gave up on. And that was painful. You reminded them of the roads not taken, the battles lost, and the hope that slipped through their fingers. So when they tried to dim your light or quiet your questions, it wasn't because they hated you. It was because they were grieving the parts of themselves they had buried. Your fire stirred memories they weren't ready to face. In trying to suppress you, they were really trying to protect themselves from their own lost dreams. Reason 6. You made their rules look small. You never needed to shout, "I don't follow your rules." You just lived differently. While others chased gold stars, feared red marks, or stayed quiet to stay safe, you had your own compass. You listened to what felt right, not just what was written on the board. You followed your inner truth, even when it didn't match what was expected. That quiet integrity, it said more than rebellion ever could. You weren't trying to be difficult. You were just being honest. And that honesty exposed something uncomfortable, that the rules they clung to weren't as solid as they seemed. You made their punishments look small, their praise feel shallow, and their authority seem hollow. They couldn't stand that. Not because you broke the rules, but because you made them look breakable. That's when they started trying to shrink you, with labels, with silence, with control. But deep down, it wasn't about you not listening. It was about you not needing their approval to be whole. And that kind of freedom, it threatened everything their power was built on. Reason 7. You connected on a soul level with classmates. You weren't the loudest voice in the room. You didn't chase attention or try to be the center of everything. But still, people noticed you. More than that, they felt you. Classmates opened up to you without knowing why. They trusted you, leaned on you, looked to you when something didn't feel right. It wasn't popularity, it was presence. Your connection to others ran deeper than surface-level cliques or lunchtime politics. You weren't performing, you were real. And realness has a way of shifting energy. It breaks down walls, sparks something honest, and creates space for truth. That kind of influence can't be measured by grades or tracked by charts. It just is. Powerful, quiet, undeniable. And teachers saw it. Some respected it. But others, the ones wrapped up in keeping control, they didn't know what to do with it. You were leading without trying. People were waking up around you, questioning things, feeling more, and that scared the ones obsessed with order and sameness. Because in a system built on conformity, someone with soul-level influence is always seen as a threat. Reason 8. Your destiny was obvious to them. Even before you understood it yourself, they could feel it, that there was something different about you. You didn't have to say anything. You just walked into a room, and the atmosphere shifted. Your energy spoke for you. It carried a quiet strength, a sense of purpose, like you were here for something bigger than grades or gold stars. Some teachers couldn't name it, but they felt it. That you weren't just another student, that you had a mission, a calling that went far beyond the classroom walls. You weren't there to just absorb information. You were there to wake things up, to shake the system, to live truth so loudly it made people question everything they were taught to accept. And that scared them. Not because you were disrespectful, but because your very existence made the rules look outdated. Your presence was like a warning bell that the old way wasn't going to last. And no matter how hard they tried, with punishments, labels, silence, nothing stuck. Because your light wasn't something they gave you, so it wasn't something they could take away. You were born with it. And they knew deep down that you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to rise. If anything in this video stirred something in you, a memory, a feeling, a truth you couldn't quite name until now, know this: the chosen one inside you never left. They tried to break it, bury it, silence it, but they couldn't. That light, it's still there. And now, it's waking up. All the pain you went through, the isolation, the confusion, the way you were treated, it wasn't random. It was preparation. Your difference wasn't a flaw, it was your gift. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, to guide, to remind others what truth, courage, and purpose really look like. So stop hiding, stop shrinking. The world needs exactly what they tried to erase in you. Step into your light fully. Speak your truth. Live your purpose. And don't apologize for who you are. Because this isn't just about surviving what happened. It's about owning who you've always been. If this message found you at the right time, hit that subscribe button. This space is yours. And drop 888 in the comments if you're ready to walk in divine clarity, power, and purpose. This is your confirmation, your reminder, your moment. They saw your light and feared it. Now it's time the world sees it and follows it.